seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's Wednesday night, November 6th, 2024. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 a.m. in Singapore, 12 noon in Sydney, Australia, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8 p.m. Central Time, and I am Jim Peters, and welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 174, if you're keeping track at home. Our guest tonight is Jeff Meyer, CEO of Conk News and publisher there. And we're happy as hell to have him on such a special occasion. Trump won. So I get a call this afternoon from Larry Newman. Now, Larry's, he's on our month in review panel. And I used to work for Conk News, which is one of the reasons I'm so happy as hell they're sponsoring us. So we've been doing this for years. The month in review panel that we now do once a month on Jim Peters at Night, we did weekly at Conk News. It was called Conk News Weekend. It was a weekly show, and we actually did it live, not live. We did it in the studio. In other words, everybody showed up. Well, Larry didn't because Larry doesn't live in town. But at any rate, so Larry calls me up. He's gloating because on the last one we did on Halloween. No, when was? Oh, Jesus, I can't remember. Anyway, Larry says, he says this can be a blowout. He knows. And he was right. And he's calling and he's like all preening and stuff, I'm not going to sleep with him. No matter what he thinks. That's all right. I'm a straight guy. It's fine. He said, I send emails to these guys. We had a chain going basically for like years. And he said his wife saw the last one and she said, I'm starting to kind of become jealous of that Jim guy. And I said, nah, you don't have anything to worry about. It's fine. I'm not going there. At any rate, Jeff's coming on tonight, and we got a lot to talk about because the election is straight in mind now. And the real thing about the election, and this is what I want to talk to Jeff about, he's in the news business. He's in the news business, and Jeff is an entrepreneur, and he knows a whole bunch about business, basically everything. So he's not just running a news website; he's running all sorts of stuff. He's like Trump. He's got balls juggling in the air. He once described himself as a professional plate spinner, and that goes back to those of you who remember the Ed Sullivan Show, and you don't because no one's as old as me. Well, anyway, one of the acts that you would have on there regularly is guys who would spin plates on little rods, and keep them going. And Jeff says he's a plate spinner, and he is. So anyway, we're going to talk to Jeff in just a second. And first, believe it or not, this is amazing. Here's a commercial for Conk News. Hi, all. I want to talk to you about Conk News. You've probably heard me talk about this before, but if you're a news junkie, you should try this out. Conk News is a news aggregator. Now, there are plenty of news aggregators on the web, but Conk News is different than all the rest, and here's how. Most other news aggregators will lump the top stories from each news source under that news source. The top 10 stories, like, for example, from Fox News, Breitbart, the New York Post, etc. What Conk News does is it sends its servers out onto the web to over 75 different news sources every 3 hours. And yes, this is an automated process, but in this case, that's actually a good thing. And collects the latest stories from said 75 sources and then lays them out on its own front page in the order they were posted, regardless of the source. So you see the latest stories at the top of the front page, regardless of where they're from. And this is all free to you. You don't need to log in. You don't need to subscribe, register, nothing. It's completely free. All you have to do is go to conk.com to check it out. That's conk.com, 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 Conk News. Jeff, are you there?
I'm here.
You are here. You like the dramatic music?
I do.
That's just to make you feel good, Not that you need
Sounds
that.
a little alien-ish.
Well, we do that around here,
You do aliens, that's right.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. There's a new calm out there amongst all the civilians. Some are scared, but the majority are walked around today like, okay, the adults are back in charge. Things can get better.
Did you watch Morning Joe this morning? I know you're a big fan.
I did. Yes.
And I heard
in fact, I screenshotted. It was Reverend Al with Mika and Joe. I thought he was reading them last rites. And I thought, oh, and they even wore black to their own funeral. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it was basically, it was like a wake.
Yes, yeah. And, with Reverend Al there, that guy's got a large head for a small body.
Yes, he does.
He's a visual. I have a good friend that does overseas buying for me. He's originally from a Floridian of Mexican descent, now lives in some beautiful part of Mexico. Anyway, he sent me a text today. I had seen him in Texas about a month ago, and he was really sweating the whole election thing. And my whole thing throughout this was God's in charge, or the universe is, and the universe doesn't let stuff get too out of control, right?
Yeah.
Weather lasts for a bit and then it calms down and the sun comes out. So anyway, it was just fun he had happened to be had been in Mexico. Monday flew to Miami to vote, and he said, yeah, just a different vibe here.
You mean in the United States, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And it is. No, you're right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Why shouldn't it? So I took some notes this morning as I was watching Morning Joe. And again, for people that don't watch, I mean, if you're a Trump person and all you consume news through is maybe Fox or whatever, I highly recommend you should always watch the other side. It's, it would be like if the NFL could go watch, if Detroit could watch the Vikings practice.
Yeah.
It just changes how you're going to approach your day. You already know what's going to trigger them. And so if you want to trigger people, you just repeat what they say. And if you don't, you know how to defend it.
Yeah. Well, you've always watched Morning Joe. I watch the CBS News myself. That's kind of my thing because I'm obsessed with Laura O'Donnell's body. I admit it. It's a terrible thing to say in public, but
she
I
looked
do.
Really pissed off last night.
Oh God, she did. Yes, I know.
Ooh.
Holy buckets.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I put some notes on paper, came to me like arrogance, no boundaries. These people have no real friends. And when you look at them, their friendships are just all surface stuff because none of them would stop each other and say, this gal came in late. Everyone knows they were lying about the guy she replaced. And if we look at history, and this is just my view of how this will roll out here in the next 10 to 15 years. The Democrats gave Donald J. Trump a foundational figure in our history for the next 150 years, because he does know how to run a business, which the government should be run more like a business. And so they put him back in charge. Now, if they weren't arrogant, they would have just let him won 2020, which would have been Trump. Yesterday and today, they would be celebrating the end of the Donald Trump era.
Yes, that's correct. Absolutely right.
Mike Pence is a weak tit. He would have brought Yes, us Republican voters would have said, "Oh, he's such a good Christian man," and he's really just a weak tit, and that's why he never emerged again.
Right. And so you're saying the thing. Are you saying what I'm thinking? And that is, if Pence had won, or if that had happened, Pence probably would have lost. Right.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I just knowing what we know, they actually perpetuated, and again, to me, this is God or the universe lining up the next 150 years of, we don't need to kill each other to coexist on this planet. That's been tried and tried and tried. And throughout the Bible, this war and peace come and go. And I think we're going to go into a very peaceful time now. It's going to take a lot of energy to get there, but we can get there.
Yeah.
You look at what they sacrificed on their altar, right? The legacy media, they're gone.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, Jeff, that's the primary thing on my outline that I want to talk about today. They're gone. You're absolutely right. They're done. Yeah. That's right. And it literally happened like 2-3 weeks. I mean, they've been leading up for years, but you got Joe Rogan and all the Nazi stuff, and it's like, no, they've thrown everything they could possibly throw at Donald Trump, and none of it worked because nobody's listening.
Well, and everyone, the ones that do listen, know I'm probably only getting about 10% of the truth here, and 90% of, hey, the cattle go this way to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Right. And so just instinctively, that just, my gut's telling me that's a bad decision or that's a bad road.
Yeah, but you stop, why did people come to that conclusion? That's because people have been figuring out over the last few years that the media is lying to them most of the time.
Yes, yeah. People aren't dumb, and they do have time to stop and figure things out, especially if they're confronted with someone that has a perspective and can communicate it in a calm way. Like saying to a draft age kid, so anyone that's 18 to 35, you really excited about war and going to war? Because if Dick Cheney likes your candidate, that means that probably going to go to war, because that's what he brings to an administration, more war.
And don't you think people are figuring out more and more that the reason he's bringing that is for his own financial self-interest?
Yes. Yeah. 100. Yes. These guys don't understand how the economy works the way Trump does. That exchange of revenue for goods, and then you get your payroll, and then your house appreciates and you sell it and you have some more money to go buy. No, they don't get that at all.
No, they don't.
Because the money just shows up in the treasury. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes they just make it up. So they just don't have a grasp, and they never did stop. And again, that's why I say they're arrogant, they have no boundaries, and they don't have any real friends amongst them, because no one said stop. And the ones that did plowed past them. I mean, think about that. They empowered Trump to have 4 years, clarify his message to minorities. Just a tool if you vote for a Democrat. Do you want to be a tool? Now they gave him 4 more years.
Yeah.
To talk about that.
Yeah, and I think what you're trying to say here, and I totally agree with you. I've thought of this before. This is for them. This is actually worse than if he'd done 8 years in a row. The fact he did 4 and took 4 off, and now he's going to do another 4. He doesn't have to worry about re-election. They basically stunk the place up for 4 years. And that. So I know, and now it looks like. Well, not only does he have the Senate, it looks like they're going to keep the House, even though it's still pretty much going to be the same razor slim majority. But that will at least give them the chairmanships, So I mean, yeah, and
again, he brings a young vice presidential candidate now. president-elect is in his 40s.
Yeah. And a guy who's smart as hell. I mean,
Elon Musk. You have Tulsi Gabbard. You have RFK Jr. You have Vivek. I mean, the number of people now know can be just this generational change to this bloated government that delivers nothing. And again, I believe they'll continue to help the minorities understand you don't need any government help. Now, yep, your grandma and your great grandma and those people, that system had them trapped. They voted to see a new and free future.
yeah.
Right? And what was the Democrats' deal with those female actresses? Well, you don't have to tell your husband who you're voting for.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Vote for. Well, what do you think? That planted the seed for the other side too, to say, if you were a minority, like, yeah, I don't have to say shit. I don't know who voted for him. I didn't. Did you?
Yeah, now funny.
All along, going along with they did.
It's funny you should bring that up, because you could look at a lot of those ads that they did and said in some ways they ended up promoting the exact opposite of what they were trying to. I mean, it's like, you're right. There's almost every one of them where there was two sides to it. And that's one. And just getting back to what you're saying about, grandparents and stuff like that, you could also make an argument that maybe, especially during, the 80, 90 years ago, maybe people needed the government's help more, but times have changed. And getting back to the war thing too, the one thing about war is that in the past, for thousands of years, humans did war because basically they tried to take resources from each other. And like the planet is so relatively rich now. Like, what kind of resource why would you take over anybody? What are you going to gain from it?
Right.
Anyway, let's talk about this thing where you're talking about the media, because I'm really fascinated by this. So Trump goes on Joe Rogan, and a lot of people, I've read a lot of editorials where that was like the seminal moment in American history, because first of all, you've got a guy who runs a podcast. I don't think he has more than a dozen employees doing this. He runs a podcast. It's the single most viewed video news content in America. It has every episode has an audience of about 11 million people, which is about 5 times what 60 Minutes has. And Trump goes on there for 3 hours. Now, I got to admit, I can't stomach 3 hours of a podcast, no matter how good it is, because I'm old and tired. But people watch this. And so you got a guy who's basically replaced an entire 200, 300, 500 people news division of one of these news mainstream legacy news companies. And he's drawing enormous amounts of people. And so why do you need the New York Times? Why do you need CBS News?
Yes, yeah. And the other thing, these 30-year-olds that are Rogan listeners, they're working construction, and if it's allowed, they'll pop in one earbud, put it on.
Right.
They can listen for 3 hours straight as they're building the wall or fixing the road or running the electric wire, right? So it's a whole different, where we're old. We think we got to sit there and actually watch it. They're multitasking. So I was talking to a converted liberal, because now they have offspring, which converts a lot of liberals, right? That's just a natural
they breed
conversion. It's like spring to summer to fall.
Yeah, right.
And they had said, the Rogan interview with 15 minutes of narcissism, and then listened for the next 2+ hours and thought, man, this guy is smart. Man, Trump knows how things work.
Yeah.
And I said, isn't that amazing that someone who knows how to solve problems has been withheld by the government? The government apparatus has said you shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to fix these problems because the government needs the problems. And this person said, well, I never looked at it that way. I said, well, that's all anything. You go to the doctor because you got a problem. You call the plumber because you got a problem. You go on vacation because you have a problem. You're sick of working.
Well,
the quickest way of solving problems with the least amount of pain.
Jeff, look at the last.
So why wouldn't you want? Go ahead.
Look at the last 4 years. If they had done a good job, Trump wouldn't have had a chance. I mean, it really comes down to that. They stunk the place up.
Yes.
And all they had to do was do a good job. And I don't know, are they stupid? Are they incompetent? I don't, sometimes I think it's deliberate. I don't really know.
They don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's they've been in these situations and they've never had to come to a conclusion or to resolve something.
Right, because they actually lose money if they solve the problem.
Well, they lose power.
Right, okay.
And it's all about power.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rogan, Trump on there, and I listened to about, I don't know, an hour plus of it, and I just loved how he said, yeah, everyone knows that. That's what you think about that, Mr. President. But what did you think when you physically walked in there as president? I mean, even Rogan had a tough time keeping that bull in the pen, but he did.
Yeah, he's good at what he does. Hey, Jeff, you're kind of dropping in and out a little bit. I don't know if the deal is if it's the way you're holding your phone or what, but I just want to point that out.
Let me switch here. Okay, is that any better?
Yes, it is. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Okay. So Rogan then comes out. I mean, I think that for me, the biggest, there's something going on here was one when RFK Jr. put his campaign on hold, met with Trump, and whatever they worked out, and he didn't have to circle back to something else, right?
Right.
Then Megyn Kelly, for 2 weeks, has said, I mean, literally in whatever it was, 2015 or 16, she was out to get him. She did not like Trump. He did not like her. They had a real battle going between, kind of the Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, right.
Deal. And she said, I came to know this guy's the best option, and I have kids.
Well, that also gets back to what Nikki Haley said, which I thought that was really good because it was so reasonable. She said Trump isn't perfect, and I disagree with a lot of stuff, but he's still way better than the alternative. And she's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we know people don't like Trump personally, and yeah, he says stupid shit a lot of the time. It's like all that sort of stuff. But also, Jeff, this gets back to another thing too, and that is he was already president for 4 years, and he did a pretty good job. But we talk about this offline a lot about the fact that Americans don't seem to understand or appreciate or even realize the idea of results. I mean, you're in business, you got to get results. You have to turn a profit.
Yeah, and you have to make sure the customer is happy and satisfied, right? You can make money and you run out of customers because no one comes back, or everyone doesn't like the experience. I mean, again, Mitch McConnell's reign is over now.
Yes, it is. That's right.
This dude from Packerville next door to us in Wisconsin that beat that Tammy Baldwin, he's the real deal. He's a self-made guy. They had a local Jay Coles from Channel 5 was over at the Hudson, which is western Wisconsin. It's really a pretty Republican area. Interviewing the Republican dude that runs that area in that voting area. And this Jay Coles, the news guy, says, well, hold it, made his money as a banker. And this guy says, well, he made the money and he's a banker. It's just that shot of, it's probably dirty money because he's a banker.
Well, right. That's right. But, I don't.
So they can't get out of the way of themselves. Like, dude, your house is on fire and you want to bitch about the fireman.
That's correct. That's a fantastic analogy. You're absolutely right. That's what's going on. Yeah, and leave it to leftists to complain about anybody making money. That's terrible.
Yeah, when they'll walk off the job because they don't get 4 cents or they were punched out.
Yeah.
I already punched out. I can't do that.
Yeah.
But the Mitch McConnell era is dead because there's a bunch of new senators.
Let me ask you about that. Do you think Mitch knows that?
Well, he's going to try to force Thune, or I'm trying to think of the other guy that they're trying to line up to. He knows he's going to get replaced this year. But, Ted Cruz didn't get a dime from him. And so Ted Cruz is, you think of those guys that are old Tea Party guys or whatever they want to call themselves, MAGA guys and gals. They're going to Blackburn. I mean, all those, they're going to, my guess is they know Trump is going to expect things, which means if they don't do it, Trump will be out there beating the piss out of them in their.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because
will.
He can. Yeah. That's the beauty of him. People are like, well, you don't want to get on his bad side. It's like, well, that going in.
Yeah.
So either don't go in or don't get on his bad side. It's simple math.
It is. I don't know. I just like this. I am just astonished by how astonished half the country is about what's going on. I don't understand why. I mean, it'd be one thing you could call this guy a Nazi, but the thing is, he's already been president once and it went okay. I mean, what did they think we're blind? I guess they do think we're blind.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Right. They think. I mean, a lot of them are saying today I was watching MSNBC this afternoon. Man, that Rachel Maddow, she is just a mean human being.
Yeah, and she's you watch this regularly. She's getting meaner, isn't she?
Oh, she's just like nails on a chalkboard. And I hang in there because it's like, this is your penance for all the shit you did wrong. And so I think because of that, what people now know, and they can, and now you can say with confidence to any liberal or anyone who wants to rip you about you voted for Trump is, hey, did Joe Biden really get 80 million votes? How could he have gotten 80 million votes? You don't think something was fishy about that? You never apologized for the 2 impeachments. Trump had someone pissing on a Russian bed, the laptop, the spying. They never got honest with the American public about all the stuff they pulled on this guy. And this guy never deterred them.
Yeah, but this time, don't you think this time people started to kind of like remember? It's like, I mean.
Oh, that's what I mean. That's what you went back to is, really, Joe Biden beat this guy in the basement?
Hey, I got to ask you about that. You and I have talked about this a lot. I still maintain, and the last poll I saw said that the majority of Americans still think there was cheating in the 2020 election. I still think there was. My only question is, do you think Joe knew about it? Because I'm not sure he did.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It was
because those guys would just naturally get caught in saying something.
Right. That's exactly what it's.
Plus, it doesn't do them any good to know.
No, exactly. It doesn't. I know. That's what I thought. They did all this stuff they didn't tell them. That's what I think. So,
yeah, and that's why I say, going forward now, it's okay to have a discussion with a liberal with the reason you lost was you never got clear and clean to people about what you did to this guy, his first 4 years in there, how this vote got screwed up in 2020. And then after that, if you would have let Trump, if Trump would have naturally won, he would be done now.
Yeah.
But you immortalized him.
Right. That's right. I know. It's really in terms of
don't blame me, you dipshits. You did it.
Yeah. In terms of the classic hero story, they made it way worse.
Yes. Yes.
They really
they
did.
Throttled him all the way to the end. He's a Nazi. I just got a book. My sister Julie was at some garage sale, found this Letters to Trump book. I don't know. It's a coffee table book. I'm going to go through it this weekend, and these are all people that wrote to him. Letters, you know. And have you watched any of that Tyrus from Gutfeld show, his interview with Trump?
No, I haven't seen any of the interview other than a couple clips they played during Gutfeld. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, and Tyrus is saying to him, Mr. President, I've got hundreds of stories here from people that you helped. And Trump's like, yeah, I want to talk about this or that. And Tyrus is like, no, people need to know about that. And Donald's like, no, they don't. I didn't do it for people to know. I did it because I wanted to help that person. Like, he sent a jet to get Nelson Mandela to come over here.
Yeah.
Right?
That's actually kind of that's become a well-known story now. But yeah, I know that he carries around a checkbook where he will just, you know, if he hears about somebody who needs, you know, funds like for something important, he just writes checks. He just hands them out.
Yeah. And then I think of Oprah. I mean, she has been living on the scam of getting women to buy her shit and go her way, and buy elastic pants because you gain weight, you lose weight. I mean, I bought some. I have Oprah pants.
Hold it just a second. You bought the Alaskan pants? You bought them?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. All right. I love you, man.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to say that on the radio, but that's fine.
Oh, for sure. I thought Oprah's got a great idea. You just get some pants that they flow with you.
Uh-huh.
And here's a billionaire made all her money through selling stuff to the American public. And she says this might be the last time you get to vote.
Yeah,
now,
what is that about?
You got to be some kind of stupid.
That's right. It's exactly right. That's idiot shit. Right. I know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, that's not a coin flip. That's like taking a coin out of a bag of 100 and saying, well, I grabbed the right one.
Yeah, that's
Hold
right.
on.
That's right.
You got no idea.
Yeah. No, it's true.
She thought she was that influential. That's the funny thing. Right? She said that thinking she's influential.
Except I don't quite, you know, I got kind of conflicting ideas about that because I think at one time when her show was actually on the air, I think she probably was that influential. But, you know, people forget that people forget. You know, I mean, I don't think she's influential anymore, but, you know, she's got her $1 billion. So, you know, she can do what she wants with it. But
right. So, you know, Mike Slater is on the Breitbart in the morning.
Yeah, right. I know who he is. Yeah.
So I catch it on my drive into work.
Uh-huh.
So this morning he's just really a happy gentleman. And I hadn't ever heard this. Maybe you have. Right? So Babylon B, this is before Elon bought Twitter. Babylon B names Rachel Levine, who's really a guy, Man of the Year.
That's right. Correct. Yes.
So they posted on Twitter. Dorsey says, or one of Dorsey's 25-year-old pot smoking dipshits says to Babylon B, you gotta take that down. They're like, we're a satire website. That's the stuff. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We're not taking it down. We would never take it down. Well, if you don't take it down, we're going to just cancel you're not going to be visible.
Right.
And in that, Elon Musk heard that and said, what? And that's what spurred him, according to this story, to buy Twitter.
That's interesting. I've heard the story. I was very familiar with the story, but I didn't know that's the reason he decided to buy Twitter. I didn't know that.
And when you think about it, that's the butterfly effect, right?
Yes, it is.
That is, it's like everyone knows college, and the college voters voted for Kamala. So if you've got a college education, you got sucked into the system and you voted for the system in Kamala and you lost. So your education turned you into a loser. Go cry to your mom. Don't cry to me. But the other thing about the college campuses are, I mean, they really are a breeding ground of puke.
Of what? What was
right?
that?
Of puke.
Huh.
Vomit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And
Yeah.
it says in the Bible, a dog will return to its vomit. And
Yes.
that's really what you have at college campuses. These people vomit and go back and eat it, vomit. And then you think about how, for 30 years, everyone's like, geez, those college campuses just keep producing more and more crap. Well, what disrupted the college campuses?
I don't know.
What's this whole Hamas thing, right?
Oh, yeah. All right.
All of that.
Queers for Palestine.
Yeah, they ate their own. I mean, you couldn't have knocked or damaged college campuses any way in the next 50 years the way they did it to themselves, allowing these students to raise holy hell on there against the Jewish students.
Yeah. I
right?
know.
I mean, you couldn't even have written that out in a plan. Like,
No, you couldn't. No. The fact that they've normalized anti-Semitism, I find not just appalling, but amazing. I don't understand. I never thought this would happen ever,
No, right. And they did it to themselves.
Yes.
Right? Like in the first few days, it's like the Wall Street thing you witnessed when you were in New York. Like that didn't happen spontaneously.
Yeah.
Same thing here.
They
could have watched that.
I've been thinking about this a little bit. I'm curious in your thought of this. That looking at all these people in the media, especially like on cable news and stuff like that. I mean, all right, you got people who are 40 or 50 years old. They're literally getting paid millions of dollars a year for talking on TV, and they seem to be. So Trump wins, and now so many of them seem to be so emotionally damaged. And I'm just wondering, is this the legacy of those people being snowflakes in college 25 years earlier? Have you ever thought about that? That maybe this went on.
Yes.
This went on much longer than anybody ever noticed.
100%. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? There was never any consequence to bad decisions.
No, that's you couldn't have said anything more wise. That's absolutely true. There's no consequence to bad decisions, and so why stop making them?
Right.
Why
Again,
stop?
They're arrogant. They have no boundaries, and they don't have any real friends. Like, this is really stupid. We're in college. We don't have a career yet, and our face is going to be all over social media chasing some kid around that's of a different religious faith than me.
Yeah, I know. What a great idea. That's terrific. Yeah.
Well, let's have a couple more Coors and we can run faster. Yeah, okay.
Oh, man. Oh, Jesus.
But I mean, that is, and so over time, that kind of stupidity is going to leach out from the colleges. And where is it going to go? Is it going to go into your mom and pop bakery?
No.
Nope. It's going to go to corporate America.
Right.
It's going to go to where there's publicly traded stock in your company. So it's no one's money in the company. You might have some shares, but it's no one in the company, in a publicly traded company, has a checkbook that says that at the bank, it's their name on it, right? It's Corporation X.
Right.
Has the name, right? It's not. And so the CFOs come and go and the check writers come and go. And so that stupidity just breeds more and more stupidity. And then it leaches into the government. And I said, when I was in Texas, I was at a trade show. I think I might have said this on your show a few weeks ago. Anyway, it was so much fun to say, you know, I'm from Minnesota and we might be able to share our great governor with the whole country. Oh, we don't want that guy. I said, well, the other thing you don't want is when your governor says, hey, we're really excited to have this Fortune 500 company move their headquarters into our state. Because that means there's a whole bunch of dumb liberals coming with it.
Yeah.
And they will wreck a good red state with their stupid corporate culture.
Yeah, on the Halloween show last Thursday, Tim Conaway and I were talking about this, and that is, yeah, isn't it amazing? You know, it's like we don't like California, we're moving to Texas, and they get to Texas, and then we got to get some Democrats in here. Well, why? Why did you leave?
Yeah,
How come you can't put that together?
Yeah, and Jim, it'd be fine if it was just the people moving, but it's when the employer moves there.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true.
you think in North Carolina, in that technology triangle. I mean, that's NASCAR Central, a stone's throw from that, and that's like a blue ball on a dog.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. You know, I have relatives that work there. I've been there before. It's like, yeah, it's amazing that this place is like does not fit here.
No, exactly. No, it is. You know, you drive 15 minutes out of there and you're at some race car garage that's
right.
got a, you know, $40 million operation with a bunch of grease monkeys.
Right.
And it's like, hey, but technology triangle is just 15 minutes away. Build a wall.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know. It's really hilarious. It is. Yeah. What are we making here? Viruses or automobiles?
So I mean, that is, and in Minnesota, we have what, 13 or 14 Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
So we are going to be this blue puke thing in the middle of Redville. But again, folks, if you really want to see how the country votes, don't look at the states vote, because you'll just see like Minnesota is a big blue state. Go to the county. Look at the counties. There's about 5 counties in Minnesota out of 90 that are blue. The population centers. And that's really true for any state other than California. The majority, there's a lot of red in these states. Just the population gets to vote. Where all the free money gets handed out.
You know, I was going to say, Jeff, even in California, though, I mean, if you look at the map in California, at least half of California is red, but it's all the rural counties, like you're saying. You know, they're still red. I mean, there's a, you know, California as an aggregate, and this is, of course, the reason we not only we need the electoral college, because this is the very reason it was set up, and that is. I mean, even like here in Minnesota, like you're saying, you have 5 counties, but unfortunately, over half the state lives in those 5 counties. You know, you still there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that may be what comes out of as people start to get a handle on this. Like, why shouldn't I be represented? Because I'm not in this densely populated area. Maybe they need state electoral colleges to balance the power out.
Yeah. Yeah, I've thought of that too. I mean, yeah, maybe you want to do it on a state level also. I know. That's occurred to me.
Well, everyone's looking for equity, right? Equity, that would be equitable.
Yeah. Yeah, diversity and inclusion.
Royce White here got trounced by Governor or Senator Klobuchar.
I'm sorry, say again. What was that?
Royce White sure got trounced by Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, but she's honestly, I was talking to Mark Tapscott from the Epoch Times about this a couple of weeks ago. She is probably one of the most popular politicians in America at this point. I mean,
yep.
You know, she got in the Democratic Party primary here locally. She got 97% of the vote. It's like that's unbelievable. You know?
Yeah. Yes.
So I don't.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Omar, she pounded that other gal. I mean, she like tripled up on that gal that was running against her for Ilhan Omar.
Is this in the primary or the election? You mean?
No, in the election yesterday.
Yeah, see, I just assumed she was going to win. I didn't even bother to check. The thing I was really amazed by, and this is where once again I think maybe there's some cheating involved. So Don Samuels ran against her in the primary again this year. Now, 2 years ago, she barely won, which is the reason he was encouraged to do it. I mean, I can't remember. She won by a couple thousand votes, something like that. And this time, she won by way, way more. And I don't understand how that would happen. I don't.
Right.
There's been rumors for years that she pays people to vote for her. Even the Star Tribune said that. That's not my opinion. I'm taking that off the press,
Right.
So I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's there was a tidal wave.
Yeah. Hey,
glad we were around to witness it.
Talking about the mainstream media. Now, this is I got this off of a trade site called Barrett Media that does they do industry news about radio and television, and this is kind of really interesting, and that is. So Fox News completely dominates the cable news stand. I mean, it's ridiculous. They have about 4 times more viewers than MSNBC, and about 5-6 times more viewers. Not like 60%, 600% of like CNN. I mean, they're completely, and yet most of their viewers, who are, of course they're not all Republicans, but the large majority of them, do not consider Fox News a mainstream media source, which is like, at this point, that's absurd. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at Gutfeld's show.
Yeah, he's on pay television, and he still beats the crap out of all the other late night talk shows. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and why? Is it because is it just because that's what he believes, and he doesn't have to try to convince people that, hey, you should think this way? He just says it, and whether it resonates with you or not, he moves on.
That's right. Also, well, this is completely off topic, but I think part of it is I think people are getting tired of the format of the traditional late night talk show, monologue, guests, all that sort of rot, I think people are kind of burnt out on it, and his show is not like that. So that might be part of it too. But so what is the mainstream media? If you're going to go by ratings, you have to put Fox News first. Matter of fact, and was it Hurricane Helene? I can't remember what it was, but now it's been pretty much established now that for years, 30 years, when there was breaking news in the United States of some importance, people turned to CNN. Now people turn to Fox News, and the last ratings books have shown that. I mean, people don't go to CNN anymore; they go to Fox News. So doesn't that make Fox News a mainstream news source? I would think so.
Right, but they're not ever invited to the cocktail party.
No, that's right, they aren't.
so they don't really exist.
No, that's correct. Yes, that's funny. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And again, I mean, you just think of the wholesale changes that are going to happen at CBS and NBC and ABC, and MSNBC won't change. Well, I hope it won't. I love how they have to have 15 people on a panel to try to.
Yeah, I know. Those giant panels are hilarious because it's like, didn't you go to broadcast school like 101? You don't. This is crazy, but they do it. I know. CNN does the same thing. They got 15 people on a panel. Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. I'm sure you'll get your word in edgewise. I don't know. I can't. I watch some of the stuff. I'm wondering, like, what is this? 12-year-olds are running this? Like, what the hell? What do you know? Apparently nothing.
I wonder which one of the Murdoch boys is calling Van Jones's agent and saying, "Hey, Van's got a place over here. If he wants to jump ship, he can make some serious money, and he'll be treated with respect." Because I mean, Juan Williams wouldn't hang around Fox if they didn't treat those guys with respect. They may not agree with them, and they may poke at them, but.
Also, my own 2 bits. I think Juan Williams is kind of stupid, but whatever.
I could, yeah. I mean, he's a typical came out of PBS.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
He definitely doesn't know how the money works.
Yeah, and
I mean, Dan Jones would have would do much more for his own career by swinging with the big guys, you know.
yeah, and also he has a reputation, I think, I don't know if you agree with me or not, of being relatively reasonable. I mean, so, you know, he's not afraid to speak out against the tribe, you know, and that's, you know, and
that's what I mean. Like, and let's face it, if you can have a conversation, it's all about understanding why someone has that perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And people are always like, well, you're just a Republican. I'm no, I went in 2001 to the Republican National Senatorial fundraiser, paid $10,000 because I wanted a picture with K. Bailey Hutchinson. And that I was there the day Jim Jeffers went from a Republican to an independent. I was sitting in my hotel room before the dinner. I'm like, oh, this is going to be exciting. There's some shit going on. I get there with my stupid little gold embossed card, like all these stuffy people. I've got this $4 suit on and a knot in my tie that, you know, you could barely get your hand around because I didn't know how to tie it right. And I'm standing in line at a bar, you know, to get up to the bar to get a drink and making talk with the people in line. And I meet the wife of Mike Ency, the senator from Montana. And so we're talking, get a drink. She goes, oh, who are you here with? I'm like, I'm by myself. I just wanted to get a picture with K. Bailey Hutchinson. I said, and I can't believe this Jeffers deal is going on. And she kind of poo-pooed it, like, you know, like, I don't know what you're talking about. So anyway, we sit down and NC sits by us, get to meet him. Now he's a shoe guy. I said, oh, you're kind of like our governor, Dayton, in the clothing business. Yeah. I said, all right, so Jeffers is going to go away. Who do you guys have? You got a couple lined up, Democrats you're going to flip? And he looks at me like I just spoke in tongues. And I said, no, really. I said, I own a shitty little business. And if one of my sales guys was going to leave, I know I have 3 or 4 names I would call and say, hey, I got an opportunity. Who's the Republicans' opportunity? He had no answer. Now, it wasn't like I was going to go run to the press. This dude literally looked like a deer in the headlights.
So you don't think he was like joshing you or trying to put you off? You think he actually hadn't thought about it?
I don't think any of them had thought. I think they were all like, what are we going to do? So I had to make a decision, like, I'm going to miss the picture with K. Bailey Hutchinson, but if this is as stupid of these people on the side I think has got some brains, I'm out of here. I said, Mrs. NC, it was good to meet you. Senator, good to meet you. Have a good evening. And I walked back to the hotel.
I don't blame you.
Well, I never got the picture with K. Bailey Hutchinson because the better half is like, well, you spent a lot of money and no picture. I said, yeah, well, that was the last time I ever gave to any large group like that. And I just really went to, I'm going to always give to the new guy. So,
yeah, you've been saying that for years. Just don't vote against the incumbent.
Jr. I gave money to. I gave money to Vance, not Trump. Trump's been there, not Trump. Vance, and it just really resonated with me. So what I'm getting at, that's a long way to get to. If someone can explain how they arrived at how they think, it just makes it more clear. Like, oh, I never had that experience. That guy's dumb enough to spend 10 grand and not get the picture. Yep, and yep. But what I did learn was the whole system's just a piece of shit for money gathering. And then I don't have to worry about it again or do it again. And so I think that's why if Van Jones went to Fox, he could explain his rationale for thinking things, and he would get really a better idea of why the other side thinks their way. And with that, we don't want to think monolithically, but at least you have an idea of that could be changed to better everyone.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're looking for in our government.
It is. Totally. You're absolutely right. That's, yeah, I that you couldn't say that any better. That is what we're looking for. I was telling you I had Mark Tapscott on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's a congressional correspondent for the Epoch Times, and he knows everybody in Congress. He's been doing this gig for 4 years. And I started the conversation off with the fact that this was about when Biden called. It's not just that he called Trump supporters garbage. He did it pretty much while she was giving her giant speech on the mall, and completely wiped it off the news map. I mean, it's like, talk about a wasted opportunity, or for her anyway. Anyway, so I started this thing off. I said, well, I got two guys in my life here. I said, I got Jeff Meyer, who tells me that in politics there are no coincidences ever, and then I got Tim. And I think, because I bring this up because I think this applies to what you're talking about. I got Tim Conaway talking about the fact that I give way too much credit to all these guys about their strategy, and he says they're all buffoons and they're never thinking they had it all. And I said, so Mark, what is it? Well, he said it was a combination of the two. That's what he said. But I think talking about your story about going to that convention is that, yeah, it's like maybe we do give these people too much credit. Maybe they don't think this shit through.
No, yeah.
Maybe Tim's right.
Or, yeah, exactly. Or we wouldn't arrive with these worthless ideas.
Yeah.
Right. They may get written down on a piece of paper, but in a conversation, someone would say, well, in the past, I've seen this crash into that wall or this go over that cliff. So maybe we got to turn it a different way. And what does that mean? Well, we got to get but they don't. They just take the dumb idea and expand on it.
Yeah.
And that is, that is what's going to have to happen. And I've said it forever, and it'll be painful. Like the FDA and all those big bureaucracies. And Sebastian Gorka has said it ever since he got out of the Trump administration. You have to move the headquarters out of Washington, D.C., stick them in Paducah, Illinois, or northern Minnesota, western Texas. And so if you want to work for the Department of Education and be one of the honchos, there's no glory in it. You're there to work. You're there to do a job.
Right.
And if you aren't, thanks for your service, but we don't need you.
Yeah. And you're not the only one who said this, too. I mean, this idea, I've been hearing more and more that they got to move this stuff out of Washington. Yeah. They do.
Yeah. It's, there's a lot of bad thinking there, and that's how you fix that. You just culturally go in there and say, you guys got to go someplace else to think, because you just don't think very clearly here.
You'd think on paper that geography shouldn't matter, but it does. The fact that all these people are crammed together in a relatively small space, they all start to think alike.
Yeah, because one bad idea gets spilled around the bar for weeks.
That's right. And literally around the bar. I've been to the bars in Washington, D.C. where these people congregate. I mean, it literally goes around the bar. It does.
It does. And then the bartender's in on it, like, well, so-and-so is in here. I thought they had a pretty good idea. It was similar to that. And so now they're puffing their chest up like, oh, they think it's a good idea. It's got to be a good idea.
Yeah. Send over another cigar.
Or no, you want them in a shithole bar with an old style sign, and the farmer sitting there going, that's the dumbest thing ever.
You're right. That's what you want.
Yes. And they go, well, why is that? And he's like, well, that's the cart in front of the horses. Is that going to work?
Yeah.
But no, they're so anyway, there's definitely a chance for that. People say they're worried about Trump's safety.
His what?
Which I think
What?
they're worried about Trump's safety. Like there could still be some issues keeping him safe.
Oh yeah. Well,
that I think that's going to go away. I really think the garbage thing was a total plant by Jill Biden, who's still going to get her pound of flesh.
yeah, that's what I think too.
I was saying to my wife this morning, I'm like, if I was Joe Biden or Jill Biden, I would say, draft up the papers for the pardon for Hunter. Let's get it over with. We're going to do it. And he should do it. I mean, yep, they're a criminal family, but you got to take care of your own. Get that done with, over with. And Jill Biden, I'm guaranteed she's the one who said to Joey, boy, those Republicans sure are trash. What a trashy thing to say. She must have probably said it to him 50 times before he got on that call.
You think so, huh?
Knowing it was going to come out and really, really hurt Kamala.
Oh yeah. No, I don't. From what I understand, he doesn't like her, and she hates her guts. So, it's like, I don't know. And then did you see this, Jeff? That when they went to vote in Delaware, she wore a bright red pantsuit. I don't know if you saw the picture.
I didn't.
Oh man, it's like, no, seriously, that could not be an accident. That couldn't. Come on, you're not that stupid. What? Go ahead.
Did you see Governor Walz at the at Howard University today?
No, I didn't.
When Kamala gave her, he was standing next to Dougie, and Tim was very emotional. He was really emotional, like choked up and kind of blubbering, and man, I'd never watched the guy on the local news because I just don't really care for him. But boy, after watching him walk out on the stage, he's a goofy kind of dude.
Yes, he is. That's true.
I don't know if I'd send my kid on an overseas trip with that guy.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but no, he is. That's absolutely correct. That is.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, I tell you what, let's leave it with that, okay? Kind of up on a little.
Governor Walz is goofy.
That's right.
And he's still governor.
Little, yeah. He gets to come home to Minnesota now, so yeah, he's home now, right? It's always a pleasure, my friend. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh no, anytime. You know that. We'll see you and Jennifer Oliver O'Connell in a couple of weeks. So.
Yep. Awesome.
Okay. All right. You take care. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
That's Jeff Meyer. He's CEO and publisher of Conk News. I'm along with a bunch of other things too. Always a pleasure to talk to him. And we're going to run another commercial now for Conk News, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned, please. Hi, all. Jim Peters again for Conk News. Let me tell you one of the greatest things about Conk News. It's free. It's completely and totally free. You don't need to register. You don't need to log in, subscribe, none of that stuff. Sure, they run a few ads on the front page, but if you're an old fogey like me, you might actually appreciate this because when you check out Conk News at Conk.com, you'll probably notice that it's the closest thing to an old-fashioned hard copy newspaper that you'll find online. The latest up-to-the-minute news from 75 high-quality sources collected every 3 hours, all laid out with photos and headlines directly from the articles. And when you click on a story, you go directly to that story. No ad page, no interstitial page, none of that stuff. This is the way online news is meant to be. And did I mention that it's completely free? Seriously, how much of stuff in America is free now, right? That's of quality anyway. So check this out for yourself. It's at Conk.com, CONK.com. Conk News. Well, folks, I think that's our show tonight. I had another thing, and I put this in the show description. I want to talk about the science of teleportation. But you know something? I'm going to leave that for Monday. Now, Monday, we're not doing a show tomorrow. Thursday, we usually do. Excuse me. We usually do a Thursday show. We're not doing it tomorrow. I'm going on a little family outing. On Monday, our guest is Susie Moore. She's a writer for redstate.com. Looking forward to talking to her. She's never been on here. Looking forward to talking to her first time. And we'll do the teleportation thing there on then too. So it's been quite a week. Now, I did on Monday, I did a solo show on election eve, and that's probably the last solo show I'm going to do for quite a while. We've been evolving this program into basically an interview show. And I'll be perfectly blunt. I've been doing a lot of political commentary over the last few years, and it's not that I don't like doing it, but I don't think I'm that good at it. I'll be perfectly blunt. Whereas the interview thing, I think I'm completely good at, and we're starting to work with some people here now regarding our program, and they've encouraged me to do this, and I'm more than happy to do it because I agree with them. I think they're right. I'm pretty damn good at the interviewing stuff, but the political stuff I like to leave to other people at this point. So it's not that we're not going to do any political shows per se. It's just I'm not going to really do any political monologues anymore. And I pretty much decided along with this that if we don't have a guest booked, I'm not going to do a show. That's pretty much what's going to happen at this point. So now tomorrow, that I've had that's long time planned for that to take tomorrow off. So that's not really what I'm talking about here. But moving forward, that's pretty much what's going to happen here. We don't have a guest. We're not going to do a show. So, but we should have a lot of guests. So that's that. What am I doing? It's all confusing. A lot of knobs, a lot of buttons. Anyway, yeah. So we'll be back on Monday with Susie Moore. I want to thank you folks for watching and listening really seriously. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Good night, Uncle Donnie. Good night, Esperanza. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you on Monday. Take care.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.